Today, history has been made. The largest cash tournament in a Catan tournament is happening right now. An invitational tournament called the Settler Series picked 16 strong players in the Catan community to compete for the biggest cash prize in Catan history, $1,000. I am one of those 16 contestants. Today, I'll take you through game 1, where we'll make a huge potential $1,000 mistake. So, I'm playing against Shazzy, a New York regional champion playing as Red, Pool KP, a consistent finalist and a top 50 online Catan player, and lastly, DUCJ playing as White and used to play Clash Royale competitively. So, let's take a look at the board. White is the first to pick, and they choose the obvious first pick, the 5-8-10. Now, some newer folks might think the 5-6-9 is stronger, but being able to take the best ore paired with the wheat is a stronger pick. In general, you want strong ore wheat together, and on this board in particular, ore is a little bit more rare. Now, it's my turn, and I decide to take the obvious choice, the 5-6-9, the highest producing spot on the board. Now, here's my question for you. Where do you drop the road and why? And if you want, go ahead and pause the video and comment below where you would go and why. And if you get it right, a heart or comment down below. So, some people might want to point the road downwards towards a 9-10 since it's a strong high producing spot, and you get wood to match with the brick. And while that's true, I think the better choice is pointing upwards towards a 3-1 port. The 3-1 port is just very strong in terms of flexibility, which is why I think you have to point upwards. Now in the third position, I think it becomes a little bit tougher of a pick. The spots that jump out to me are the 8-4-3 and the 4-5-8. If you take the 8-4-3, I think fourth position usually takes something like the 4-5-8 and the 2-9-10. Or the 4-5-8 and the 6-3-11. So if you take the 8-4-3, you'll be either getting the 6-9-2, the 2-9-10, or the 6-9, which all match pretty well with the 8-4-3. On the other hand, if you take the 4-5-8, I think fourth position will probably take the 8-4-3 and the 6-9-2, or the 8-4-3 and the 2-9-10, which most likely leaves you with the 6-3-11. Which one do you think is better? Red decides to take the 8-4-3 spot. It gives strong wheat to pair with the ore, and as two decent ports, the wood port and the sheep port. In the fourth position, Green decides to take the 4-5-8 and the 2-9-10, instead of the setup of 4-5-8 and 6-3-11. So I decided to ask Green himself, and here's what he said to me. The problem with going on the 6-3-11 is that the 6 brick and the 5 sheep both get blocked pretty heavily, and he wasn't sure if I was going to be able to buy enough dev cards to protect the 6 brick and the 5 sheep. And if those spots get blocked, then it's quite bad for Green's game. So instead, he decided to take an ore spot and play the ore wheat sheep game with the idea that both me and Green would be able to pound the 8 wheat with the rubber. That's some great reasoning, and I'm glad he explained why. However, I think I personally would have gone with the 6-3-11 because you assert road dominance. So what I mean by this is that you have the best wood and brick on the board, and you have all 5 resources, and you could potentially cut yellow off to the 9-12 to get a strong 3-1 port with more wheat. And most importantly, you don't have to involve yourself in a heavy dev card battle for the largest army, as you're fighting against a player who's already built on the 5-8-10 and the 5-6-9 player. That's some unnecessarily tough competition for the largest army. Speaking Catan theory-wise, in a typical balanced game, there are 2 people who fight for longest road and 2 people who fight for largest army. When that balance is thrown off by 3 people going for largest army and 1 person going for longest road, it's usually the player with that competition who wins. So if there's 3 people going for army, 1 person going for road, it's usually the road player that wins. So Blue takes a 6-9, getting him wood and sheep, which complements his setup as it combos with brick, wheat, and ore. One of the most essential tips in Catan is to get resource diversification, and if possible, get all 5 resources. And the way I remember this is through this beautiful poster, DyLighted. DyLighted is a high quality metal poster that captures unique passions that only takes 20 seconds to set up. All you have to do is peel off the sticker and attach a magnet to it. Then attach the DyLighted to the magnet. DyLighted works with thousands of artists and has over 1 million prints to choose from, so you have plenty of options. DyLighted allows you to capture any passion and have it proudly displayed at your home. So thank you DyLighted for sponsoring this video. So if you're playing in my position, the 3-10-11 is probably the best pick, but I'm missing the wood resource. However, DyLighted can cover the missing wood problem with the tree planting initiative. For every DyLighted sold, DyLighted will plant a tree. They've planted over 14 million trees. Looks like I won't be needing wood this game. So real talk, I think this makes for a great gift and I really like this company. So click the link down below to get 33% off in the first week. Thank you. I'm also pointing my road downwards because I'm pretty confident that Red will take the 6-3-11 and the 4-9-11 will be open. So then it's White's turn, and they take the 6-3-11 as expected and they point right. So with that said, the game begins. But if at any point you're enjoying the video or learned something, like the video. It helps immensely on the YouTube algorithm, and I noticed that my videos underperform when I don't ask for a like. So if you could like the video, I would truly appreciate it. And if you find yourself liking multiple videos, well, consider subscribing. So the game begins. A 9 rolls. Now it's my turn. A 7 rolls. I initiate a conversation with green. Karan, you got 2 ores, buddy. You gonna trade it?
Where are you blocking? Can I trade you?
Yeah, I blocked the 8.
Okay, I'll take the card if you steal from Juicy.
No, it's any card.
Man. Dude.
Go for it. It's a 50-50 on me. If you want
Sorry,
that door, you
Kron.
can go for
Sorry,
it.
Kron. Take one for the team, man. Yo, it's City on 659.
Oh,
Just
fuck
get
it.
Dylan, you like that? You like that card? Papa D. Papa
You
D.
fucker. I think I should have taken the deal that green offered me. I'm not sure why I didn't. Blocking the 8 wheat is a strong block in the first place. And being able to steal from white is a good thing. The thing is, white has 2 brick, and he can threaten to cut me off on the 9 wheat, so removing a brick from his hand is great. On the other hand, if I stole an ore from white, that's pretty good too, since now I only need a 9 to roll for a city. And the deal with green is cancelled, since we can't do ore for ore. So I think not taking the deal from green was a mistake. Then, on red's turn, they roll a 9. Then, a 5 rolls, a 10 rolls, and a 6 rolls. So, it's my turn, and I have a decision to make. Do I buy a city, or do I buy 2 dev cards? And if I buy a city, which do I city up? Also, there's heavy talk amongst the players to cut me off onto the 9-12 as they think I'm too strong.
We can't let you get 3 for 1. We have to plow you.
Yep.
We have to plow you.
There's a minute on the clock. What do you do here, and why? I think buying a city here is better, even though you're gonna get hammered with a robber once you get a city. Usually you want to buy a city first before you start buying dev cards, but there are exceptions. So now we narrowed the decision down to a city, we have to figure out which one do we city. Dropping a city on the 569 is 13 points of production, and that's a powerful city with a lot of production. But here's why I think the 3-10-11 is better. To buy a dev card, you need a ratio of 1 ore, 1 wheat, and 1 sheep. If I upgrade the 3-10-11, I'll have 10 pips of ore, 8 pips of sheep, and 4 pips of wheat. However, my first expansion priority was to be building onto the 9 wheat, making my ore wheat sheep ratio extremely strong and very precise. Also, if I expand to the 4-9-11, I'll have tons of wheat sheep already and not enough ore, which is why I think upgrading the 3-10-11 is better. Anyways, this is a tough decision, and I like to think on these decisions. I can't afford to be making a mistake in this $1,000 tournament that I know thousands of people are gonna watch. So I think, and I think, and I think. Is this, wait, what the hell? Oh, wait, what? It just froze on me. What the fuck?
Oh, you ran out of time.
Oh, it just froze on me. No, I pressed, oh, whatever. That sucks. That's tragic. Dang, one of my biggest weaknesses is learning to play along under time control. This timeout could be a disaster if I get punished. If I get 7'd out within the next orbit, this game will be over. So, with my pride and $1,000 on the line, I hold my breath.
Oh.
That's so annoying.
Dylan would be needing a wheat unless you're dropping them all off. I can block the 8 wheat.
What can you offer, Karan? Let's see.
I can offer you a sheep.
That's annoying. Yeah, sure. I have to take this trade. Green will rob me 100% of the time here to break my city and because I have wheat. So I take the trade with green. Then the 11 rolls. Sitting with this hand, I can hold for a city, but the problem is, as soon as a 9 rolls to get me the city, I'm over 8 cards and in danger of losing the city to the robber. In general here, it's very risky to hold with 7 cards. And because of that, I decide to buy a dev card.
I want him to use his knight.
It is a knight.
Oh gosh, I'm getting solo blocked. On green's turn, he rolls a 4. On white's turn, he rolls an 8. Then, white and green strike up a trade.
Juicy, you need a board?
Yes, I do need a wood.
What can you offer?
Well, what if I give you a sheep and a brick for wood?
Well,
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Sheep and brick for wood.
No.
This trade gives green a rare brick and an extra card, but allows white to settle. Both green and white should be natural trading partners for wood and brick. That's because white produces a bunch of brick without any wood, and green produces a bunch of wood without any brick. The problem here is that I also produce a bunch of brick. So I'm gonna be fighting with white to get these wood for brick trades, since if I don't have any wood, the brick is gonna stay stuck in my hand and clog my hand. So it's my turn, and I play a knight before I roll. And I decide to put the robber onto the 8 wheat and I steal from white, because he's my ore wheat sheep competitor, and they also have a guaranteed ore in hand. Getting that 3rd ore matters a lot, since if 2 9s roll, then it allows me to get a city that I should have gotten much earlier. With that said, an 8 rolls, and I'm quite glad I blocked it, and I end my turn. Then, a 6 rolls. Green does a road into settlement to get to the 5-2, which solves a lot of green's problems. Since green has way too much sheep and wood, but not enough ore and wheat. So getting on the 3-1 port is going to be essential for green's game, and he just made his setup significantly easier to play. Then on white's turn, an 8 rolls again. So what would you do here? I'm curious, and if you want, go ahead and drop it down in the comments below. Here's what I did. Karan, you got wood. Want to trade it?
I'll trade.
Oh my god, bro. I'll trade wood.
I'll trade wood for any card.
And I won't jack you, Karan. That's the offer.
Where are you putting it?
5 sheep.
Okay. What are you giving me?
Whatever card.
Okay, makes sense.
I think taking the trade with red and robbing green is a better play. And that's because in green's hand, he's at least 2 wood and 1 ore. So once red trades me the wood, I have 2 rare wood in hand, which are hard for me to get. That's pretty important because I need to settle on the 9-12 as soon as possible because I have an excess of ore right now. If a single 9 rolls and I'm doubled up on it, well, it gets me a city. However, I stole from white because I wanted to reduce the amount of ore in his hands because that's essentially limiting him on dev cards. The problem with stealing from white though is that the ore is dead in my hand and it's useless. I already have a lot of ore and holding onto more ore isn't gonna do anything unless my 9s roll. With that said, I get the trade with red and drop my road onto the 9 wheat 3-1 port. Racing for the 4-9-11 is very risky, and in general, I need a port to get rid of my brick. So, of 10 rolls, a 5 rolls, a 6 rolls, and I roll 10. I'm in a nasty position. I'm at 8 cards. I can either hold over 8 cards or I can 4-1 my ore away. Both are quite miserable to do. I don't really want to 4-1 my ore here. In general, you want to avoid porting away your ore. Your ore is valuable. There's also no trades for wheat I can do since no one has it. So here's what I decide to do. Yo, Juicy, you want to make a deal here?
What kind of deal, man?
Want a free ore?
Doesn't really do me any good since my 8's been blocked.
If I give you an ore, you get a city with an 8, right? So here's my deal. Here's my deal. I'll trade you 3 ore this turn, and you hold my cards, right? You hold my cards. And on my turn, you trade it back, but you get to keep one. Make sense?
Yeah.
So this is my offer.
What if he 7s out?
Or you gotta give me insurance. So basically what I'm saying is right here, I'll give you this, right?
Yeah.
And you hold my cards, and I'll give you a free ore. Sound good?
No, hold on. What if he 7s out, man?
The odds are low, and you're gonna trade me back to 2 ore. I'm giving you.
If I 7 out, I still owe you 2 ore.
Yeah, but the chances are pretty low of that, and you still get a city with an 8. And I'm giving you a free card.
This is awful, man.
You want a free card? Yes or no?
This is awful.
I mean, they're gonna try to talk you down. I try to buy insurance here. So what that means is I give a bunch of my cards to one player and they hold on to it for me, and then they get to keep 1 card. And then they trade it back to me. And the reason why you do this is to avoid losing half your hand to the 7. So because I'm over 8 cards and I don't want to 4-4 my ore, I'd rather give 1 away for free and have someone hold my cards. I think I decided to trade with white because he has the least amount of cards, which makes it not very likely for white to 7 out and lose it. Keep in mind, these trades are technically non-binding and white can say screw you and keep all the ore, but most tournament players follow the word with these trades, and this is an invitational tournament, so I know a lot of these players that I'm playing against. With the insurance deal done, I end my turn, and now it's red's turn, where he rolls a 4.
Alright, Karan, let's talk.
What are we talking about?
I need a wheat.
I can't trade a wheat, sadly. It's my only wheat, so.
How do I win this game, Karan?
You try really hard.
You have to take the 9-4-11. To start with, 9-4-11 has to be yours.
Dude, that spot's trash for me, and you know that.
It's great for Dylan, so like it's gonna work out eventually for you.
Alright, so Karan, what you're telling me is that you're gonna feed me that spot. Can you give me a wheat and I'll take the spot now?
What am I getting back in return? Like, am I getting your next 2 wheats?
You're getting a brick, bro. It's pretty good.
I already got a brick from Dylan.
Oh yeah.
So, why do you think red doesn't go on the 9-4-11 and decides to cut to the 8-3? That's because the 9-4-11 clogs the hell out of red's hand. They don't need that much sheep and wheat. Not all production is good, and red doesn't have a 3-1 port or a sheep port in order to process all that sheep. It's gonna stay stuck in their hand. Red would rather plow green to the 8-3, taking away green's expansion spot and getting more wood for red's wood port. The wood is very useful for red since it can be processed because of the wood port. So with that said, it's green's turn, he buys a dev card, and he passes. Now, it's white's turn, and he rolls an 8, which gives him a perfect city. That insurance deal was the absolute best case scenario for white. On my turn, I roll a 6. What would you do in this position? I want you to pause the video and comment below. This is a tough position to be in. I really need a wood here in order to settle. Being able to build a settlement here is amazing, because if a 9 rolls, I can get a city as it doubles my wheat. However, green is one of the best hand trackers I know, and he knows the contents of my hand. And I need the 1 wood that green has quite badly, and no one else has wood in this position, so I have to talk to green. I offer a 1-for-1 trade for the wood, but it gets rejected. It feels absolutely awful to offer 2 ore for a wood when I know I can get a better price for wood in the future. Even though it sucks to do a 2-for-1, especially giving 2 ore away and to your largest army competitor, I still think it's not such a bad play because you set yourself up for a city. as with a single 9, you get 2 wheat and you can drop a city onto the 3, 10, 11 as we talked about earlier. With that said, I buy dev card and it's a knight. Then, on red's turn, he rolls a 7. He puts the robber onto the 10 ore and robs from white. On green's turn, he plays a knight and moves it right back onto the 8 wheat and steals from red. Then, he rolls a 6. Then, a 2 rolls on my turn and 8 rolls. I've got 6 cards with a useless hand again. I really can't do anything here, so I decide to pass. On red's turn, a 10 is rolled and red builds a settlement onto the 8-3. Now, it's green's turn. He rolls an 8. Green does a 3 for 1, buys a dev card, and ends his turn at 7 cards. Now, it's white's turn, and he rolls an 11, which puts me at 8 cards, and in danger of rolling a 7 and losing half of them. Then on my turn, I roll a 7, and I'm forced to get rid of half my hand. This is a miserable position to be in, and I have to go through a very tough decision on what to discard. This is a weird part of the Catan game tree that I don't really have too much experience with, and it's because usually I don't time out and put myself in these miserable positions. So now there's 2 options here. I can discard the ore and go for a settlement, since I know red has a wood, but I still need a wheat to settle. Setting up for settlement means I have to dump 3 ore and a brick, and I still need to roll that magical wheat. However, discarding 3 ore hurts to look at. On the other hand, I can dump the brick and the sheep, since I'm on the 6 brick and the 5 and 11 sheep, and I can hope and pray that 2 9s roll and I'm able to get a city, as I'm super behind in production. I decide to go with the city plan and decide to dump the brick and the sheep here. But in hindsight, I think going for the settlement is better there. So with the discard finish, I get to place a robber. Jazzy, I still need the wood.
Yeah, I'll trade it to you, obviously.
Not this turn though. I'm gonna request it in one orbit.
Wait, why?
Because he doesn't have a wheat right now.
Yeah.
Okay. I decided to postpone the trade because I don't need the wood now, and I really don't want to be doing an ore for wood trade, since getting red ore is quite strong for them. On red's turn, the 3 is rolled. Then, on green's turn, a 9 is rolled, and green's at 8 cards. With a stuck hand and no wheat, green decides to hold at 8 cards and take a gamble. Then, it's white's turn, and he rolls a 6. And then on my turn, I roll a 7. Ugh, this has been a miserable start. I got 7'd out 3 times now. Though, this is my fault for not building a city at the very beginning. So, what do you do here? Again, this is an extremely tough position. If you want, pause the video and think about it. And if you really want, comment down below. I would love that. So, there isn't actually a turn order in who discards the cards first, but it's actually very important what green decides to dump. For example, let's say I know green's hand is 4 wheat and 4 sheep, and it's my turn and I roll a 7. My hand is 1 wood, 1 brick, 1 wheat, and 5 ore. And green is tracking my hand too. Let's say I discard first. I decide to discard a wood, brick, and 2 ore. So now my hand is 3 ore and 1 wheat. I have intentions to rob green for a wheat. So if I discard first and green sees this, 1, I can't get a city from him if I steal from him, and 2, I can't extort him for the wheat either. Now let's look at a different situation. If I discard 4 ore, so my hand is a wood, brick, wheat, and ore. I have intentions to build a settlement if I steal a sheep. Now, once again, green sees this. He can dump all of his sheep, so I can't build a settlement. The opposite is true. Depending on what green discards, it could change what I discard. For example, if green decides to get rid of all his sheep and keep 4 wheat, well, I'm certainly gonna be dumping the wood brick, and I'm gonna be robbing from green, getting that guaranteed wheat in order to get me a city. So basically, depending on what green discards, it could change what I discard. In theory, you could wait for your opponent to discard to make your decision. Though in theory, your opponent could wait for you. However, in an online game, you only have a certain amount of time, and when that timer hits 0, everyone has to get rid of their cards. So speaking about timer and timing, the timing of your extortion matters too. Let's say green has a wheat and is considering getting rid of it. I need to talk to green and create an extortion deal before he gets rid of the wheat. At the same time, if I try to create an extortion deal and try to say, hey, are you willing to trade me the wheat or I'll rob you? Green can simply say, nope, screw you, and discard his wheat, so I can no longer rob him for the wheat. So I just talked a lot of theory. So why this actually matters in my position is because I can get an expensive settlement. If I discard 4 ore, which is very painful, I can extort green for his sheep since he has multiple in hand, and I can get the future trade of wood that red promised me last turn. However, in order to drop a settlement, that comes at the cost of dropping 4 ore. Is that worth it? The truth is, I don't know. This is a very unexplored area of the game tree. I do know for sure though, the city helps my position significantly, and I decide that I need a city right now because I'm so far behind in production. So I decide to rob white again because red is promising a future wood on the next orbit, and I don't want the wood right now because once again, that wood is inactionable in my hand. On red's turn, a 5 rolls. Then on green's turn, a 4 rolls, and he buys a development card. Then on white's turn, an 8 rolls.
Yo, cool.
Yep.
Let's do this trade, and then next time you roll a 7 or a 9, you don't block me.
Okay.
With that trade going down, white drops a road and ends his turn. Then, it's my turn, and I roll a 6. Red owes me the future wood trade, so I cash in on that, and I give him an ore for a wood. With that, I finally drop a settlement onto the 9-12. Finally. If a 9 rolls, I can get 2 wheat and I can get a city, and maybe I can just get back inside this game. The problem with trading red right there is that it gives him ore, and red is very close to the city, as red is on 9 cards and they're on the wood port. But the 7 rolls, and red is forced to give up half their hand. Red puts the rubber onto the 10 ore and takes from green. On green's turn, he plays a knight.
If I block you, will you move it to the 8?
How about just don't block me, put it on like the 4 and I'll still move it on the 8 or something like that.
Okay, makes sense.
On white's turn, he rolls an 11. Now, it's my turn. Do you roll first, then play the knight? Or do you play the knight first, then roll? Which play and why? I decide to roll first, then I play the knight. Don't I want to be blocking the powerful 8 wheat? The thing is, if an 8 roll, wheat is on the board. I can either extort white, or I can either steal from white for the wheat for the chance to get the city. With that said though, I roll first and I roll a 6, then I have to play the knight, as that's what I promised green. What if I give you 2 cards and you give me 2 cards back, Juicy, and I won't jack from you? I'm still putting on the 8 though.
Say again?
I'll give you whatever I steal from Shazzy and whatever a sheep for 2 brick.
Why sheep? Wait, Dylan, wait. Think through. Why do you want to give somebody a sheep?
And wait, and I don't have to
Yeah,
give
the
them
sheep will have a
back,
sheep
right?
board.
You just want the 2 brick?
Yeah, I just want 2 brick, yeah.
I mean, that sounds fine, man.
Wait, Karan, are you willing to do a trade with me instead? I can offer the same deal, like 2 cards for 2 brick or 2 brick.
Yeah, let's do it, Dylan.
Karan, do you want to do that instead? I'll give you brick, yeah, 50-50 brick and ore.
Okay.
50-50 because
wait.
I think that's what I'm gonna jack. It depends. It depends though.
Okay.
Okay, so if I don't get it, are you still gonna trade me then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me.
Ore is guaranteed. Ore is guaranteed here, right? Ore is
No,
guaranteed.
I missed, bro. I missed the ore.
Oh, so you were expecting to get a ore. Trading brick from my hand doesn't help me. So I'll do this because I thought the ore was guaranteed there, or I was giving you 2 sheep for 2 bricks, which helps me more. So
That's why I said I thought it was a 50-50 since I thought you had ore.
Extend the time.
This is just to
Here.
extend the time.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. Wait. I would need a wheat back.
So you're doing this with the future wheat, Kevin,
Yeah.
getting back. Okay, so this is just the future wheat basically.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that sequence happening, I drop a city. I think I was being very generous to green by giving him a future wheat. In a $1,000 tournament, I don't know if there's any room for kindness or generosity. With that said, I'm finally able to drop a city under the 3, 10, 11 and end my turn. Then a 10 rolls. Then on green's turn, a 3 rolls. There's only 1 question mark inside the bank. What this means is there's a lot of ore in play. When green passes his turn on 7 cards, when there's a large amount of ore in play, it tells me that it's unlikely it's a monopoly. By the way, if you didn't know, the number of question marks underneath the resources represent how much of that resource is inside the bank. There's over 13 ore on this board, and at the higher levels of Catan, generally everyone is tracking resources. So when green decides to pass up on a 13 ore monopoly and hold at 7 cards and that only took 8 seconds to make that decision, it tells me that green's 2 dev cards are probably not a monopoly. So on white's turn, a 3 was rolled, and there's exactly 0 ore inside the bank. What do you think happens here if another ore tile rolls? Well, 0 ore is distributed, and it actually affects the game a lot. Let me tell you a quick little story of my friend Hawkeye, who went to the USA Nationals with me in 2019. In round 1 of USA Nationals, Hawkeye was at 9 points. He thought he needed the 8 ore to roll in order to win. However, the bank had to give out 6 ore, but there's only 4 left inside the bank, which means no one in that turn gets any ore. And that's what he thought was a roll he needed in order to win. So because of this factor, Hawkeye ended up losing the game at USA Nationals at 9 points. So let's get back to white's turn. He 4-1s his wheat and buys a dev card and he passes. Now it's my turn. A 2 rolls. I decide to pass here because I think green would have monopolied the turn before and I can get a massive turn if I hold and get lucky. At least that's what I thought. But the problem with doing that is that it's very, very risky. Any 9, 3, 10, or 11 puts me to 8 cards, which puts me in danger of getting 7'd out again. In a normal situation, I would port 3 ore for wheat, then end my turn. But the problem is that I owe that stupid future wheat for ore trade with green. So I'd have to 3-for-1 my ore and give it away, which is basically giving green 3 cards, which feels absolutely disgusting to do when I'm in such a bad position already. So I decide to hold, but I don't think that's right. I think the better play here is 3-for-1ing for the wheat and paying up that future wheat trade with green. But in the first place, I never should have agreed to that. I was way too nice and I scammed myself. Red rolls a 5, and red has a city in hand. As red, where do you city? Go ahead and pause the video and think about where you would city as red. Red decided to upgrade the 8-3 spot with the reasoning the 8 wheat gets blocked a lot and the 8 wood never gets blocked, nor does a 3 wood, and red has a wood port. White isn't buying any dev cards to protect the 8 wheat and it's getting blocked a lot by both me and green. Then on green's turn, he rolls a 4, and then to my surprise, green plays a monopoly on ore. This sucks. I really wish I ported the ore last turn. Though if I did port the ore for wheat and gave it to him, he'd probably give me an ore and monopoly right back. I'm not sure why didn't green monopoly a turn ago, since he could have prevented red from getting a city. But I suspect he wanted his hand to be properly set up with more wheat, as he monopolied as soon as the 4 ruled. Green goes ahead and does a 3-for-1 for wheat and drops the city onto the 4-5-8. He does a 3-for-1 for a dev card, and then he does another 3-for-1 for another dev card. That was a very strong turn by green. Then, on white's turn, he plays a knight and puts it onto the 4 wheat, then robs from green, and a 9 rolls. Getting 7'd out multiple times, and losing my entire hand to mono, I'm forced to give this stupid wheat trade to green. I really don't want to do this. Now in theory, I could say no because these trades are non-binding, but it's bad etiquette to do so. But more importantly, I want to maintain competitive integrity, and I also know that a lot of you guys are going to watch this, and I really don't want to set a bad example for the community. So because of that, I do a wheat for sheep for green. So earlier I was saying, in a typical balanced game, there's strong competition for both largest army and longest road. But right now, in this game state, there's not adequate competition for largest army. I'm significantly behind. I'm losing the largest army race and it needs to be balanced out. I tell this to white and he agrees to trade me an ore to help me buy a dev card. Keep in mind the sheep is still useful here for white because white has a sheep port. With that said, I get a knight and I end my turn. On red's turn, a 10 is ruled. Red drops a settlement onto the 4-3. Remember, the reason why red skips the 4-9-11 is because the sheep is useless production and is a hand clogger without the 3-1 port. On green's turn, he plays a knight and moves the robber onto the 8 wheat, then steals from red. And then he rolls a 6 and he does a 3-for-1 and ports his wood away in order to buy another development card. Then it's white's turn and he rolls a 4. White does a 2-for-1 and drops a settle onto the 11-12, and with that newly acquired 3-1 port, white does a 3-for-1 for an ore and drops a second city onto the 6-3-11. On my turn, I roll an 8. Then I play an aggressive knight here. You shouldn't be playing aggressive knights when it's not on you and you don't have a second knight in storage or have a plan to buy a development card. I really don't like the knight that I played right there. I blocked the 4 wheat, but I think that's another mistake. I think the better block is actually the 8 wood here. The reason why I don't like blocking the 4 wheat is because 1, green and red already have wheat, so blocking the wheat doesn't do anything. And 2, the better block I think is blocking the 8 wood because red has a wood port. You also don't want to steal from red here because they're at 8 cards and you want to keep them over 8 cards so they can get 7'd out and lose half their hand. So you have to rob green here. Then a 10 is rolled. Red builds 2 roads to the 8-10, and then they drop a 3rd road. Why do you think red dropped this 3rd road instead of saving the wood brick for a settlement? That seems like a waste of a road. But the reason why red did that is because red is tracking. Green actually in this position has a wood and a brick, but they haven't played it. The only reason why green wouldn't drop the road is because they're trying to save the wood brick for settlement. And that's because green has a road building in hand. So because red was able to track and deduce that, red decided to drop the extra road on the 8-10 in order to play around the road building. Because if red doesn't drop the extra road, then green will drop 2 roads backwards and cut red off. On green's turn, he rolls a 7 and puts it back onto the 8 wheat, then steals from red. With that, he does a year plenty for sheep and wheat and buys a dev card. On white's turn, he rolls a 10, giving people ore. Then it's my turn, and I roll an 8. I talk to white and use the same argument I did last turn. I'm falling very behind in the largest army race, and I need to at least try and put up a fight against green for the largest army race. And because of that, I ask white for a brick for an ore, and white agrees to the trade. I really want to get rid of the brick here, since the brick literally doesn't do anything for me. I think I make a mistake here by buying a dev card. I think the better play here is just to port the ore for a wheat and buy a city. I need the production, and at this point I'm just so behind, I need multiple miracles to happen. With that said, I buy dev card and I get a road bidding, and that's absolutely useless. On red's turn, he rolls a 9, and red uses the wood port and buys a dev card. Then a 5 rolls, and green plays a knight and puts it onto the 6 brick and robs from me. Oh gosh, this sucks. This is definitely preventable if I bought a city last turn. The only reason why green is robbing me is because I'm racing them for largest army. In this spot, I need to talk to green and reveal my dev card and say, hey listen green, I've got a road bidding, I don't have a knight, I'm dead in the largest army race. It's okay to review dev cards at the correct timing. And I think telling green right here I have a road bidding, which saves me from getting robbed, is a pretty important thing that can help me by revealing my dev card. With that said, green buys a dev card and does a 3-for-1 for wheat and buys another dev card. On white's turn, he rolls an 8 and finally gets some of that precious wheat. And with that, white buys 2 dev cards himself. Then it's my turn, and I roll a 7.
Before you jack,
I have a knight.
I also have multiple knights in my hand, so I can definitely say Shazzy's on more points than me.
In the later stages of the game, the knight isn't useful. Red volunteers this information that they have a knight, which makes me rob green. Also, let's analyze that conversation that just took place. By green saying,
I also have multiple knights in my hand, so.
it means that green has 2 knights or more. Then green decides to say,
I can definitely say Shazzy's on more points than me.
this tells me that green either has 1 victory point or 0. Then green's last card is either Monopoly, Road Bidding, or Year of Plenty. But it's probably a Road Bidding because that's why green is holding the road and not dropping it. So in one conversation, if you pick it apart, it actually gives you a lot of details of what someone's dev cards are, which helps you more accurately pinpoint the leader. With all that said, I drop a city onto the 5, 6, 9 and end my turn. On red's turn, he plays a knight onto the 10 ore, then takes from green. Then a 12 rolls, and red uses the wood port to buy a dev card and ends his turn. On green's turn, he plays a knight onto the 8 wheat, then takes from white because red has no cards, and then he rolls an 8. Then on white's turn, he plays a knight himself and puts it onto the 4 wheat and steals from green. There's not much I can do, so I decide to hold. On red's turn, they play a knight and they put it onto the 10 ore, and then they roll a 10, blocking all of it. And with that, red uses the wood port to buy another dev card. On green's turn, he rolls a 3 and plays a knight and moves it back onto the 8 wheat and steals from white. The reason why he stole from white was because he's searching for an ore to help him buy another dev card. Then, it's white's turn, and he rolls a 6. White plays a Monopoly on ore and gets a total of 6 ore, and 5 of those ore from me. What's really terrible is that he's taking away cards from the last place player, and not from red, who could be winning on the next turn. With white's Monopoly, they drop a city onto the 11-12, and then the 3-4 in the ore for a wheat, and then drop another city onto the 8 wheat. So what could I do in this situation? Well, more than 1/3 of the dev card deck is gone, so I should probably be expecting a second Monopoly. When white doesn't move the knight, I need to start being proactive and ask, hey, are you gonna play a Monopoly? If you are, talk with me. There's only 6 ore on board if you Monopoly, and majority it comes from me, which is the last place player. I'd be willing to trade you a good chunk of my ore if you Monopoly wood instead, because red has a wood port and they're probably at 9 points since I don't have a victory point. I've got a road bidding. Essentially, I'm telling white to extort me with a Monopoly, or you could say that I'm bribing white to Monopoly something else. With that said, too little too late, and it's my turn and I roll a 12. On my turn, I play the road bidding and I drop 2 roads around the 9 wheat. So in this position, after I do the road bidding on the 9 wheat, what do I do with the rest of my hand? I can build 2 more roads if I want. I decide to drop 1 road onto the 10 wood. But the second road is quite difficult. Do I play the road? Do I hold it? And if so, where do I play it? I can drop the road in the 6-5 segment because I'm probably going to be connecting next turn anyways. However, I think the better play is to hold the road and not play it. The reason for this is because I want to save the wood brick in my hand, because on red's turn, if they can't build a settlement, then I have a chance on my turn to do road settle onto the wheat port, taking away red's settlement spot, which is very critical. And if red is able to build a settlement, I'm holding only at 5 cards, and I can still connect across my roads. On red's turn, they play a knight and move it onto the 6 brick, and they steal from me. Oh my gosh. The reason why red is stealing from me right here is because I'm racing them for longest road now. And then an 11 rolls, giving 4 brick to white and 2 sheep to me. They use the wood port and they're able to settle onto the 8-10. Then it's green's turn, and he rolls a 3. Green offers me a brick for ore here, since it allows him to buy dev card, but the problem is, it breaks dev cards out of my hand. My only goal at this stage of the game is to increase my point total as much as I can, in order to score better for the tournament. That means I really need to get to my turn as much as possible to buy the dev cards to get VPs. The reason why I care so much about points is because the tournament is ranked by 1 wins, 2 victory points, and then 3 point percentage. But the biggest tiebreaker though is victory points. So scoring 5 points in a game is very miserable. Also, if you haven't realized, there are only 5 more dev cards inside the deck, and 4 out of the 5 dev cards are victory points. And the last one is a Year of Plenty. So now green ends his turn. And the only way I don't lose and get to my turn is if white rolls a 7, or if when white buys a dev card and he pulls the Year of Plenty. If I can get to my turn and pull 2 victory points, I will have to end up with an abysmal 5 points of a tournament score. So I hold my breath. A 10 is rolled. White buys a dev card and buys another and wins the game. What a gross game. So after looking at the standings in week 1, I'm in last place. This is embarrassing. Maybe drop me a pity like. I hope I can do better next game, and well, you'll see it soon. Thank you guys for watching. I'm DyLighted, and I hope you learned something.